using generics with the functional interface. Let's say we have a functional interface that has a method that will take a data type, let's say string, and will return a string, or a data type string but return integer, right? So we want to make this more dynamic, more generic, right? So we want to make a return statement as a different data types. So let's say we will have a functional interface, name it as a manipulation. So this functional interface will have a single method, right, that will return, let's say, a string, right, and it will say apply. And it will take a single parameter, let's say a string, str. So this method will take a string as an input and will return output as a string, right? So let's try to test this. Let's create a class, right? And we will say this class is test manipulation. Now we want to write a lambda expression for this functional interface saying manipulation, right, to uppercase, right? So what we want to do, we want to have a parameter, let's say x, and we want to return this in uppercase. For example, I will try to pass the value as a Java, and I want to have this output as a all uppercase Java, right? So what I'm gonna do, I will say return x to uppercase. We will not use a return keyword because it's a single line without any curly braces. So this way we will have an output in uppercase saying, hey, can you to uppercase apply, let's say Java, right? So it will take this Java, convert to uppercase, and will return this. Yep, we got the right output. Now, what I want to do, I want to have this manipulation, and I want to say get length, right? Get length. I want to count the number of characters in the string. Let's say if I will pass the Java, I want to get an output, the number of characters in Java. How many? 4, right? So I want to have an output as an integer. I will say take the x, get me the length, right? This will return me the number of characters. But here we have an issue. You're trying to return a length, which is integer, but we can return only the strings, right? So if we will go to our functional interface, we will see that it is returning only the string. So how we can make this returning any data type, either the string, integer, whatever, right? Double boolean. So at that time, we want to say, hey, this will return, let's say, R, right? R means, hey, it can return any data type. But the thing is, we need to mention that in a class level saying, hey, this can return any data type, which is R, right? So here we'll say R, this is R. It can be any letter, it can be A, it can be A, it doesn't really matter. But let's say we will return any data type. Right, so let's put it back to R. For the return, we usually use R. And coming back here, what we want to do, we want to return any data type, right? But every time we will be returning, we gotta mention for the manipulation right here, we gotta mention what we will be returning, because that's what we mentioned in the interface saying, hey, we will return a data type R, which is, we gotta mention it here. So we will be returning string while we convert to uppercase. And the same here, what we want to return, we will return an integer, which is the number of characters in the string. So this way we will mention what data type we will be returning, okay, by providing the data type in the diamond brackets. So we will say get length dot apply, and we'll say Java. Yep, we see that as a 4, which is Java has 4 characters. Now, what you want to do, you want to do the same with the parameter. you don't know what parameter you want to pass, and you don't know what output data type you want to get as a return, right? So you don't know what is going to be data type for a parameter and for the output for a return. So for that case, what you need to do the same for a parameter, saying, let's say t type, right? So we will say t, and right here we need to mention that type, which is here t, right? So we gotta say what type it is going to be as my parameter and what return data type it's going to be for my parameter, right? Coming back here, we will mention not only one data type here. Now we will mention the type of parameter, which is string, and type of return, which is going to be a string. So our x will be string and return will be a string. Same thing here. We will say, hey, our parameter will be a string and my return will be an integer. So now what we can do, we can create another manipulation, lambda expression, saying I want to pass integer and I want to get a boolean as an output, right? So we will say check if number is even, right? So for example, I will pass a number as an x, any number, and I will return if it is even, then true. If it is not even, then I will return false. So I will say x modules of 2. If it is equals to 0, then it is an even, otherwise it is odd number. So here we will say system.println, hey, is even dot apply, and take the number, for example 8, and see if it is even number. And 8 is even, so it will return us a true, because apply method this time is returning a boolean, right? So let's run it. And we got it as a true. This functional interface takes any type of data, right, which is t, we can mention here t as well, don't have to be str because it cannot be only str, and it can return any data type. Now this method is much dynamic than the one that we pass the exact return data type, right? It can take any data type as an input and return any data type. That's all about the functional interface with the generic data types.